Hi, I'm Harmony, and today I'll be looking at a game from Lacklustre, who is currently in Diamond with Symmetra on console. So their team is running a Brawl comp with a Reinhardt and a Lucio, and they're going against a very ranged comp with the Orisa and two ranged DPS. So what I want to see is either the use of a teleporter or coordinating with the Reinhardt and the Lucio in order to close the distance and get in the close range that you need in order to deal damage as Symmetra. So let's see what happens. And that was very unfortunate. Here, if you didn't see, the teleporter broke as soon as Lacklustre placed it, and it's a bug that happens a lot when you place TP right next to an object like this car here or a wall. And it happens to me in my games, and when it happens to me, I just try to move on and forget about it because I know Blizzard is not going to fix their game. I'm very skeptical of this teleporter because in theory you could get the Ana to use Bionade and maybe even get a pick on her, but your team is right behind you, so it seems that they want to go with you through the TP, in which case it wouldn't be optimal because it doesn't give you very much cover to stand behind while capturing the point, so it leaves you kind of vulnerable, and it leaves you especially vulnerable because you've still got an enemy on the high ground here who is uncontested. So what I would do is, instead of TPing through here to point, I would just wait the 10 seconds after your initial TP was destroyed here, and then set up another TP high ground so you can force the Orisa off high ground, because if anyone TPs with you, then the Orisa will be forced to move off of the high ground, and then you have this space for yourself. Your team made a lot of mistakes this fight, like wasting coalescence and getting hooked off the high ground, so not a lot you can do here.
I will correct my mistakes.
Sigma.
Teleporter online. I have opened the door.
Okay, this is a habit that you need to break out of right now. You use your TP to get back from spawn, and you've left it up. When I play Symmetra, I always check if anyone is respawning, and if someone is, I leave the TP up. Otherwise, I break it right away, because I want to use it to give myself mobility. There are some situations, mostly on control maps or on defense, when it's best to leave spawn TP, and if you want, you can check out a video on the subject by Abandoned, another top 500 sim player. It's in the description. But as a rule of thumb, my advice would be, every time you use TP to get back from spawn, you immediately break it if no one is respawning. And I say that because as you get better at Symmetra, you will have to be using TP in more and more creative ways, and even if you win games by leaving TP in spawn, that doesn't necessarily mean that you're getting better at utilizing your teleporter. Now, I kind of went off on a tangent here, but you actually end up breaking your TP a good 20 seconds after you initially used it to get back from spawn, and you could have been doing something with TP at that time. See, and it's only now that you break TP, so you could have been doing something with it by then. Here, you shouldn't be saving all 3 of your turrets for a TP bomb. It seems like you wanted to do a TP bomb from here or something. But you spent a lot of time having 3 turrets in reserve, and you shouldn't be afraid to just throw out 1 or 2 turrets in case anyone on the enemy team decides to push through the choke or flank, like this Echo is doing right now. So you should be trying to maximize your turret uptime, meaning don't be sitting around with 3 turrets in reserve and no turrets deployed. I like what you did here. You used TP in conjunction with Photon Barrier in order to get into a good position on the objective. The only problem is that you didn't really wait for your team. If you look back, then some of your teammates haven't even taken the teleporter yet, and you were already on the point. So you just need to be more aware of how your team is positioned in relation to you and your teleporter.
There is still much to be done. My teleporter is online. 60 seconds remaining.
This is another situation like the spawn TP I talked about earlier. If you look, then all your teammates have taken the TP, so there's no use to have it up. And the same principle that I talked about earlier applies. When you're playing Symmetra, you always have to be asking yourself, can I break my TP right now? Is anyone going to use my TP? Is my TP being useful right now? Because when you break your TP as soon as you can, then that means you charge your next TP faster, and that means you have more mobility. So always be thinking about that. So like I said, you are about to capture the objective and you still have the TP up. And if you had broken your TP, then maybe you could be using it right now in order to get some momentum against the enemy team after capturing the point. But because you just left it up and you weren't thinking about it, then you don't have that option.
Opened the path.
I like this TP, but pay attention to your turrets. You have 3 in reserve, and you have 3 deployed here, but all 3 of your turrets are actually back here at point A, so they're useless. Don't save all your turrets for a TP bomb. If you're just pushing the payload like this, then you can just push some turrets along the path, like up here or down here or around this corner. I could put them on high ground in case an enemy DPS wants to go up there. I could put them on a flank and just try to maximize your turret uptime.
Engage. Sigma. From light into being.
Now it takes you this long to place your first turret in this fight. In general, my advice to new Symmetra players would be place your turrets outside of enemy line of sight where they have to turn a corner or something before getting hit by them. But for more advanced Symmetra players, you would use your turrets like I just described, but you would also use your turrets in a situation like this, where you're kind of out in the open, you're kind of dueling an enemy. Don't be afraid to just throw turrets within the enemy line of sight, like on the ground or up here or over here, anywhere behind the enemy. It forces the enemy to stop looking at you and to destroy the turret. Now, good players will destroy the turret in less than a second, and that's why this is kind of an advanced tactic, but that still increases the distraction value that you're providing overall, because these two enemies are both looking at you, and it increases your chances of surviving in a sticky situation like this one where you don't have your TP up and you're not near your team. So in this situation, I would just chuck all 3 of my turrets anywhere, because I'm probably going to die anyway.
My work is not complete. The payload has stopped. We must get it moving. Setting deployed. Teleporter online.
My personal recommendation would be to almost never use all 3 turrets for a single TP bomb. It's almost always better if you, like for example, you use 2 turrets for a TP bomb, and then as soon as you teleport, you just throw a turret on the wall or something. And I say don't throw all 3 turrets on the floor for a TP bomb, because then, for example, if the Ana used Bionade on your TP, then she would have destroyed all 3 of them instantly. And that's 30 seconds of cooldowns gone instantly. And you don't want that.
My teleporter is online.
In this situation, I would definitely either TP to high ground or walk over here and manually go to high ground, because being on high ground just makes it so much harder for the enemy team to come back from spawn and recontest the objective.
60 seconds.
See, and now the enemy has high ground control for free. And if you had put TB there and then maybe even told one of your teammates to go with you, then that would have been highly beneficial.
Heroes never die. Teleporter online. Remove quickly. Dein Schutzengel ist da. Enemy reviving. Symmetra online. My teleporter is online. 30 seconds. Our fates are entwined. Let me get you back.
Now, I think you lost this fight because even though you just end up TPing high ground, by that point your team was kind of staggered because you didn't have any good TP set up, you didn't have a lot of turrets set up around the objective or anything. So it was just a very sloppy fight from the beginning.
One. Attackers incoming. Defend objective A.
The fuse is lit! Enemies are blow something up!
I like that you were on high ground, and your team probably should have been on high ground with you because that's a good place to be. So that's kind of unfortunate, but you also have no reason to try to duel the Ashe in that range because she outranges you, so you also could have dropped it down earlier.
This will help.
Teleporter online. Open for fire.
Objective lost.
Der Kampf ist noch nicht vorbei. My teleporter is online. From light. You're powered up. Get in there.
The enemy team had a lot more ultimates than your team because they took a fast fight on the first point, so they just snowballed this fight with their ultimates. So not much to do at this point.
No one can hide from my sight.
Teleporter online. Remove quickly.
You should have waited for your team to group up fully before TPing anywhere. Maybe you wanted to TP here because you saw or you heard the Roadhog use hook, but still, you're not going to kill the Roadhog because you are a Symmetra that didn't have any beam charge initially, so it's better to just wait for your team.
The payload is approaching its destination.
And your team is staggered, so you can't contest the objective. Well, I think you have some good ideas about how to play Symmetra, but there's a lot that you can work on. I would focus on optimizing your teleporter and your turret usage. With your teleporter, just make sure you're always thinking about what you can do with it and how it can be useful to you. And for your turrets, just to maximize their uptime. I think in general you could be a little bit more liberal with them. But anyway, that's all I have for you today. I hope this video helps you, and if you have any questions or if you want me to elaborate on something I said in the video, then feel free to please leave a comment. Also, if you want to see me play Symmetra live in top 500, then follow my Twitch channel at twitch.tv/harmony_lw. The link is in the description, and thank you for watching.